Hey folks, welcome back to Gaming Garbage, where we take a look at games, chat about the gaming news in the industry, and of course stream for fun. Today we're going to be talking about the Game Awards 2023. Now what I'm going to be going over is the score that I think, and then I'll go into all of the games that I found relatively interesting, which there's actually quite a few of them, but I'll be going over each one. If there's a date associated, I'll be talking about that. If it's an exclusive, I'll mention that, and then a little bit about the game that I saw. I'll also be then talking about my thoughts of the show, just kind of its entirety. So this is going to be a long one. If you're seeing this on YouTube at Gaming Garbage 22, go ahead and take time to put it to 1.25 times speed, and it'll help you get through this a little faster. Of course, you can always like and sub and all that good stuff. I'm over at Twitch at Don't Tread on Thee, and also at Gaming Garbage 22 on YouTube, where I archive everything. My playlist is a bit of a mess, but I do have a lot of playlists on there. I wish I could organize it a little better, but I have so much content that I love going through on the show. Of course, besides these showcases, because lately there's just been such a waste of time. It's been so frustrating. But anyway, hopefully you guys are doing well, and let's go ahead and get into it. So the Game Awards, of course, always come toward the end of the year. Jeff Keighley's been doing it since like 2014 for quite a long time, and I gotta say, man, this is one of the worst showcases I've ever seen for actual game awards. And so my score on this is actually an F. And that's the short end of the stick. I really think it's kind of a waste of time for most of us. It's more of kind of a showcase than an actual awards show, and I'll get into that. But you know, I'll get into the games that we saw in the showcase. Again, this won't be all of them. There was 62 games that were showed during the Game Awards, and which is insane. That's even more than what was showed at the at Game Fest earlier this year. So yeah, a ton of flipping games, folks. So I'll be going over about 30 of them that I found interesting, and then I'll highlight the ones that I'm most excited for. Okay? So let's go ahead and get into the start here. So we got to see Exodus. I should mention there was a pre-game show, but I didn't watch it. It was 30 minutes. We'll talk about the pre-game show with my thoughts on the show itself. But yeah, we got to see a game called Exodus. This actually looked pretty interesting. This was like a futuristic game, and was actually made from some of the one of the writers that actually did like Mass Effect and some of the other better games in our childhood. And this is produced by Archetype. And honestly, this actually looked pretty interesting, pretty good. Something about an alien race is like hunting down humanity called the Celestials, and we're just trying to survive. So that actually looked interesting. I'm very excited about that one. Keeping that one on my radar. Also, we got to see Hellblade 2. We've already seen some more of this earlier this year. This is releasing in 2024. This is going to be on Xbox only, but it will also be on Game Pass on launch. So this is one of the better games that I think that is going to be on Game Pass. And even if it's not a great game, at least you can kind of get it quote-unquote for cheap or for free, because there's plenty of other games on Game Pass. We also got to see that Sega announced multiple games in kind of like a quick little showcase. So but these were all kind of like arcadey type of games, or like indie type of games. We got to see Jet Set Radio, Shinobi, Golden Axe, which actually looked fairly good, Streets of Rage, and Crazy Taxi. So they kind of shoved and meshed all of those together in their little teeny presentation, which was kind of nice. Like, we didn't watch, most of these actually weren't really that boring, which was nice, but the showcase was almost 3 hours. Next, we got to see Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. So again, this was just, a whole bunch of screaming, a whole bunch of blue and yellow and orange fire and stuff, and a whole bunch of beams, like it was a Pokemon battle. And hey, it's a Dragon Ball game. So, I'm trying not to make fun of it too hard, but hey, if you grew up with this stuff when you were 7 years old and you love Dragon Ball, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I mean, it's a Dragon Ball game, so take for it what you will. Not a lot of talking, definitely a lot of Michael Bay action going on in there, and yeah, it's a Dragon Ball game. Alright, so next was Visions of Mana. This is 2024, and this is actually made by Square Enix, and I actually don't remember this one. There's so many folks. But yeah, Visions of Mana, I think this one was from the same creators as I'm trying to think. Same creators as Ori and the Wisp. Or the Willow Forest. Yeah, I honestly can't remember much of that one. The Rise of Ronin actually looked pretty good. Again, feudal Japan, samurai swords and hacking people. A story of power and struggle. And this is coming out on March 22, 2024. This is a PlayStation exclusive. But yeah, this one does actually look pretty dang good. Visually, it looks good. Some of the gameplay that they had looked pretty fluid. It looked pretty well refined, and they still have several months to make some changes and some polish. But yeah, it did look pretty dang good. Next, we got OD from Kojima Productions. So they've been working on this game for a few years. They actually had something to show. And this is a new type of genre, if you will. It's kind of a cross between a movie and a game. Now, there's some of those already, but Kojima was very specific, saying that this has never actually been done before, what he's doing with this movie/game, or game/movie. And he is also with a director on this. So they're both working on this project. And yeah, again, this is something that has never been done before. Kojima usually does things independently as well, but he partnered with Xbox on this one. So yeah, it's kind of a triple partnership. And they're also doing something with cloud gaming. So we don't really know exactly much more than that. Kojima was still pretty cryptic like he normally is, but I don't think this is going to be like a Death Stranding game. I also don't think this is going to be anything else like he's ever really made before, because what we got to see with OD is that basically you're looking at the face of certain characters and they're talking about what they're seeing, and the music in the background kind of gets more intense, and then we're learning about an animal killing other ones, and then the door opens at the end and the character's like and so I don't really know what to expect from that. It definitely does have my interest, and Kojima is some of the best storyteller in the industry that I've seen. And I love their Metal Gear Solid games. Those were amazing. Death Stranding had some good storytelling too, but again, it's kind of like a hiking mechanic, and I can't really get behind that. So if you liked Death Stranding, nothing wrong about that. I'm just not a fan of being a delivery boy in video games. And so yeah, I just steered to clear of that one. Next, we got to see Jurassic Park Survival. Now, what was really cool about this is I am quite the Jurassic Park fan, especially with the older ones, and they totally catered to the fan base that have watched the original Jurassic Park games. And this is the story of somebody that got left behind, was not able to take the boat into the storm, right? Was not able to leave, and she's left there, and it's just her. As far as we know, it's just her. And there's still all of these animals all over the place, dinosaurs trying to kill her and stuff, and she's just trying to find a way off the flippin' island. So this has actually piqued my interest too. This is a survival game. They made that very clear. And there's also not a lot of resources available. And you got the dinosaurs running around trying to kill you and stuff. So, and it also takes place at night, which we know the first movie takes place pretty much in the dark for a lot of it. And so, yeah, I'm very curious about this one. This one's on my radar. Next, we got to see Fortnite Rocket Racing. So I guess killing people with shotguns and sniper rifles on different maps isn't enough anymore. And so Fortnite is creating a new mode so that you can race cars. And it kind of reminded me of, like, Hot Wheels. You know, where you kind of get to jump, you get, like, wings, and you got boosters and stuff. And it's kind of more arcadey and fun, you know. But, yeah, they're adding racing to their game. Next, we got to see Black Myth Wukong. We talked about this basically a year ago, but it got delayed. And this is now coming out August 20th, 2024. So we actually have a confirmed date. It does look like it's going to come out. They've had some time to polish this up. But yeah, Black Myth Wukong is kind of like a Sekiro game. Sekiro / Dark Souls, or Neo, if you want to think of it that way. Visually, it looks very good. Everyone in the game is basically some type of animal, and I hope you're good at parrying. So I'm honestly very kind of excited about that. I was excited about it anyway, and the visuals too honestly look very, very good. But yeah, this one's on my radar for next year. Next is Suicide Squad. We got to see another trailer of Suicide Squad. We got to see more this time of the 4 people that have basically become bad, that are supposed to be good, like Superman, Batman, Green Lantern, the other one I can't remember, and oh yeah, the Flash. And so they've all turned bad, and so we got to see some more actual kind of, I wouldn't say gameplay, kind of like more story of what's going on. We know the ultimate bad guy is Brainiac, and this will be coming out February 2nd, 2024. But this one, personally, I'm not excited about because, in my opinion, it's not the same studio. It just doesn't feel that way. It's kind of more live service-y. We know there's going to be like a season pass or a battle pass implemented with this. We know, too, it's more of like a looter shooter. So it's totally a different formula for the game, and I just really don't think it's going to work compared to what people were expecting. So that's kind of a bummer. But hey, we'll see. We'll see. We'll definitely cover it here on the channel when I can. Next, we got to see Banishers of New Eden. And so this is coming out February 13th, 2024. And this story is basically the protagonist has lost somebody that has died, and he is trying to get her back. She's in some kind of corrupted state, her spirit anyway, and he's trying to fix that. And so there's combat in the game, there's some parrying and blocking in the game, and it is third person over the shoulder. But yeah, we really don't know too much outside of that. But yeah, Banishers of New Eden did look a little interesting, but it's not like at the top of my list. Next, we got to see the first Berserker. Again, kind of like a Dark Souls type of game. You're some crazy, insane wild man, I guess, with long, flowing blonde hair, and you're just ready to kill stuff because you're upset. And there's kind of multiple sides in the game, and it doesn't really seem like you're on anybody's side. Just kind of seems like you're just kind of killing everybody. But visually, that game actually did look pretty good. The art style looked good in the game. And the animations look pretty good too. So it looks like it's a more polished game. Let's see. Next, we got to see Apex Legends. They were promoting some skins of Final Fantasy 16. Or Final Fantasy 15. One of those. And yeah, they're going to be in the game. So it seems like Fortnite is finally kind of kicking Apex's butt with all of you kids buying the skins and stuff. And so skins are kind of the way to go now for sure. And so Apex is starting to play that game. I think they've had skins in the past, but that hasn't really been a main staple of theirs. It's really been characters to play in the game that have different skills and abilities and different characteristics. And that's kind of been their thing. But now they're like, hey, you can get some wink wink skins for your dude there, or dudette. And so, yeah, they're trying to compete now with Fortnite. And Fortnite has been on the flippin' rage. I mean, they've had Eminem, they've had Star Wars, they've had The Boys with, like, Homelander. They've had, I'm blanking right now. Yeah, oh, Peter Griffin now is a good one. But they've had a lot of different influencers. They've had a lot of different characters, musics, actors. They even had John Wick at one point. So they've had a ton. They've had a ton, and that's basically their main staple is like, hey, you get to be this person and shoot people. I mean, what's not fun about that? Next, we got to see Skull and Bones. Woohoo! So February 16th, 2024. Boy, quite a few of these on February. And Skull and Bones, we didn't really get to see any gameplay. Most of it was just animation. So that's really concerning. They're not really showing the game much. There were some, but I mean, not really a lot to go off of. Most of it was just animations. And so Skull and Bones is going to be an absolute dumpster fire. That's what I'm calling right now. I can't wait to get my freaking hands on it. I'm actually going to try to get into a closed beta this month just to see if it's improved, because I already played it once, and oh my word, the whole thing that I gave them was pretty freaking extensive. Probably took like a couple hours to actually write. But yeah, hey, gaming garbage. This is what we live for. Dumpster fires, folks. Next, we got to see Blade. So this is going to be made by Arcane, along with Bethesda. And Blade is a Marvel character. But yeah, they're actually bringing Blade back. This is made by the same people that did Deathloop, and it very much looks kind of in the same art style. So this should be pretty good. Kind of more Dishonored a little bit. But yeah, this is going to be hopefully a good one. I really hope it is. Next, we got to see Last Sentinel. I don't remember much about that one. So, moving on. The First Descendant. This looked interesting. Kind of reminded me of a... Oh, frick. Kind of losing that one, too. Anyway, it did look interesting. It was actually on the top of my list. I circled it. This is summer of 2024. Oh, here we go. It kind of reminds me of the Shadow of the Colossus. So you got you and some other folks running around. I don't know if it's multiplayer or not. That was not clear. But there's at least a couple of you running around, and monsters come out of the sky, or they come out of the ground, or they come out from behind a mountain, and then you get to try to kill them. And I really loved Shadow of Colossus. I mean, you had you and you're a horse, and you just got to. It was kind of nice peaceful game. You get to enjoy the scenery, and the scenery honestly looks really really good. The animations look good. You get like a grapple hook where you can swing around the enemies and try to, like, instead of crawling on them, you know. But yeah, it really reminded me of Shadow of the Colossus. Looked pretty good. There's also Mecha Break. Armored Core, folks. Faster paced. Well, maybe not, but kind of like Armored Core Gundam. Think of that. And that's basically the game. Also, we got to see another trailer, a new trailer of Helldivers 2, and I wish this was on Xbox because this actually looks fun. But it's not. It's just for you PlayStation folks. Congratulations. And I hope it's a good one for you. I really do. But yeah, this one actually looked pretty good. You're fighting robots, and you're dropping in like freaking Space Marines and kicking some butt, taking out some microchips. And yeah, it really does look like a fun one. Next is Space Marines 2. So this one I'm very excited for. This is September 9th, 2024. And this one was delayed, unfortunately. You're supposed to get it this month, but now it's been delayed for 10 months. And so, yeah, September 9th is now the new date. But Space Marines 2 is basically kind of leaving off where Space Marine 1 was. Space Marine 1 was a 360 game, if I remember right. So it's quite old, so it's been a while. But Space Marine 2, we didn't really get a reason for the delay. It's just the fact that, hey, it's delayed, it needs to be polished more. Well, okay. Don't really know what's going on there, but hopefully it is doing well. It does look good. Very horde mode-y. And, oh yeah, I can't wait to try that one. Next is Monster Hunter Now, which is a mobile game. Enough said on that. Moving on. And then we had Hello Games come out. Sean Murray. So he's the one that made No Man's Sky with actually quite a small team. And they've been making a new game with, he said, about 15 developers as kind of the core group for about the last 5 years. So this is kind of impressive. They've at least got it started. And with what they showed, it did actually look pretty good. A lot of the same type of mechanics, except his idea for this one is like an entire world that you get to explore. Instead of multiple worlds that are kind of more empty, instead there is this one specific world, basically Earth, that has different biomes or different areas in it and stuff, except it's filled with things to explore and adventure with and do. You can also do this with other players. That was very apparent. Maybe even up to 6 players. I went back and watched it a few times, but I couldn't exactly be specific because there was a lot of action going on. But it looked like there was you and multiple other riders, more than just 3 total. It looked like there was more like 5 or 6. And so again, he wasn't really willing to reveal a lot of information on this. Basically, whatever was in the trailer. He is very excited about this, but he's also, him and the team are very nervous. They know how the launch went of their first game, and but you know, the amount of content they've made from No Man's Sky now is just incredible. It's had like 12 different DLC drops that have all been free. I'm sure they've made their freaking money back. And I am excited for this one. This one is called Light No Fire. So kind of probably a play on words, kind of a cryptic title. But yeah, Hello Games is making this. So yeah, actually take a look at the trailer. This one's on my list too. I'm very excited for this. I just hope I don't get screwed over again. You know what I mean? Next was Final Fantasy 16. So basically this was some DLCs. We got to see Echoes of the Fallen, which is out now, and then also the Rising Tide. And hey, It's a Final Fantasy game, very actiony, plays off of Final Fantasy 16. It just adds more chapters to the story and what's going on and more stuff to do. And honestly, yeah, it did look actually pretty fun. So Rising Tide is going to be out in spring of 2024. Next, we got to see another Monster Hunter game, a real one, called Monster Hunter Wilds. This is going to be 2025, and it did look different. Some of the mechanics are the same for the animals, and also for you and what you're riding on. And so, yeah, some of the things will feel familiar, but definitely a different world, it looks like. And so that does look pretty good. If you're a Monster Hunter fan, you'll probably enjoy this. Next, we got to see The Finals. So this is actually out now. This actually released a little early. And this is a free-to-play Battle Royale game. So you have you and a team, and it's also cross-play. But the thing that's unique with this one is that the environment is completely destructible. The walls, the bridges, the ceiling, demo, the whole freaking place. I mean, whatever. It's actually pretty interesting. There are multiple maps based off of real locations. So you have like in Italy and a Paris and America and yeah, Mugachi, you know, all that good stuff. And yeah, it actually looks interesting. So this is a first-person shooter. And it kind of is played through kind of like a Hunger Games perspective. Except, yeah, you have a world where you get to try to fight other teams and try to win. So we already know that model for the most part. The story is kind of like a Hunger Games type of arena thing. And, but yeah, fully destructible environment. That is kind of cool. That would change the dynamics of the game. Instead of just shooting through glass or trying to shoot through walls, you can actually just blow the frick out of the entire wall. And, whatever else is behind it. So that's kind of fun. Reminds me of some of my older, like, Battlefield days. So the ones I'm excited most for are Exodus, Jurassic Park Survival, Black Myth Wukong, The First Descendant, Space Marines 2, and Hello Games, Light No Fire. So, yeah, again, there were 62 of these games, folks. And this brings me ultimately to the thoughts on the showcase. So this is the second half. If you're basically done, thank you for coming. You know, you can find me at Twitch, Don't Tread on Me, and also Gaming Garbage 22 on YouTube. Thanks for coming. I'll see you on the next one. For those of you that want to hear my thoughts on this show, well, let's get started, because there's a lot on this, too. And so, in my opinion, well, it's not really an opinion. It's pretty easy to see. This really was not a Game Awards show. This was about promotions. And so, again, there were 62 games that were announced or showed. Some of these were world premiered, right? First time being showed ever. There are quite a few of those. We also got to see some DLCs, which they got you on one of them, folks. We got to see God of War, and you should have heard the crowd. They were like, woo, yeah! As soon as they saw Kratos in a canoe, they were like, yeah, man, yeah, man. I mean, just totally just raging out there. And then we got to see some gameplay. Some of the gameplay and story looked a little, this is kind of weird. What's this? Well, they're like DLC, and it's free. And the crowd wasn't overly happy about that. So they were looking forward to the next God of War game, but nope, that's not what it is. They got you on that one. So in total, there was about 12 minutes of acceptance speeches for awards. 12 minutes out of 180. 12 minutes. That's insane. There was also quite a few winners we didn't see. And so those were Best Family, which was Super Mario Wonder. Innovative Accessibility, which was Forza Motorsports. Best Esport, a lot of Esport stuff. So Best Esport was Valorant. Best Esport Athlete and Team and Coach and Event. And then even Content Creator of the Year. And so, in my opinion, it's like, even though these were in the pre-game show, why even have them if they're not going to be a part of your showcase? Why do these even exist? Why do these even matter? Now, esports is technically in the Olympics, but I've heard that flopped pretty dang bad. Not a lot of seats bought, of course. And, yeah, I mean, it's people watching video games. You can do that from your house, folks. Or you can, you know, watch it on TV. It's not like you can really see the players sweating there sitting in front of their console, even though I'm sure they are, but it's not as exciting to watch. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, quite a few of these, it's like, wow, why even have these? They just kind of seem worthless. Um, and then, too, if they're not willing to show them even, or even talk about them in their actual showcase, why even have them? Yeah, again, why do they even exist? The the other rewards, well, half of them had a lightning round, where basically Jeff Keighley would face the camera and say, well, for this particular category, there are these games, and this is who won. And with this award, these are the, nominees, and this is the guy who won. And he did that like 4 times in the show, where he's just ripping through these award subcategories in like less than a minute, which was kind of a bummer because no one really gets recognized. The game gets recognized, but you don't have anyone from the studio. You don't have anyone accepting an award. Excuse me. You don't have anyone really talking about the process, the pressure, the thankfulness, and I think that's really important in our society because we don't have enough thankfulness to begin with, because it's all about how we need to be comfortable, right, and us being first in our lives, and so it's good to have thankfulness. But yeah, they weren't even willing to do that. The rest of them, and two, I really saw that as disrespectful. It's like, hey, you won, but you're not going to be able to come up on stage. Like, that kind of sucks. It would make me not want to go, right? If I possibly won, I'd be like, yeah, I wouldn't want to be there, have to sit in the crowd, hear my name or hear my game, and, just clap for myself. I mean, that kind of sucks. That really sucks. The rest of them, the winners that got to actually come to the stage, at least somebody did, which was nice. But they had a time limit. Now, we got to see this at the very beginning with Christopher Judge coming out and sharing the first award, or saying who the first award was. And, but yeah, they had a timer, and what would happen is the timer would be running. They also had a clock for people on the stage to be able to see, pretty dang big from what I heard. And they would basically have 30 seconds. And at the 30-second mark, they would get this kind of musical cue that would actually be quite loud and disruptive. And then they would have 15 seconds after that, and then they would need to be done, basically. So 45 seconds to get up there to basically, quote, thank the team, my mom and dad, and that's it. And not really a lot of time to really do anything, so that was disrespectful too. And the fact that they had music on top of the clock, that would be very distracting to try to figure out what to say in real time. And I know I would just be a blubberbath. I mean, I wouldn't be able to say anything. My mouth would just be going everywhere. It'd just be a mess. And so, yeah. and you could tell that kind of affected some of the people in that way on the stage, is that they just couldn't focus on what they needed to say or what they wanted to say. And it was just it's just very bad. Just looked pretty disrespectful. One thing I did notice is that there were also other actors and also other promoters that got to come out and talk about their project, like Kojima did about OD. And they didn't have time limits, but Christopher Judge did. And so I feel like that was kind of a snub against him because he took too long for 8 minutes on his acceptance speech last year. But, to do that to him, it just didn't seem fair. But all of the others, they got, including like Matthew McConaughey and Kojima, they got to have basically as much time as they wanted to just talk about kind of needless, worthless stuff. And it just didn't really sit very well with me. There's also a lot of promotions for movies and for shows, for tech and for DLCs. So again, not a lot to do with game shows. There weren't as many, I felt like, as in the Game Fest. Game Fest was really flippin' bad. I mean, it was like, hey, go to Taco Bell and use DoorDash. Go to, order on Wendy's and use DoorDash. Here's another screen from Samsung, a big monitor, 32-inch, blah, blah, whatever. Please buy it. They had a ton of those during Game Fest, but not as many, thankfully, for the actual Game Awards, but there were still some of those. We also got to see a promotion of Season 2 Twisted Metal. We also got to see a promotion of OD, which is kind of a game slash movie. We also got to see. Oh, dang, there was something else. Oh, yeah, Fallout. So there was a whole thing on Fallout. And again, I know that's game related, but that's not a video game. And the Game Awards are games, not movies, not shows, whatever, not adaptations. In my opinion, adaptations should not even be an award for a game show because, again, it's not a game. It's based off of a game, and that's fine. But that should be like the Golden Globes, the Emmys, the Grammys, the Papas, whatever. Okay, that should be like movie and show related because that's what it is. But it shouldn't be in the Game Awards. Let's see. Oh, I did forget to mention that the God of War DLC is actually free. And the reason I think it's free is because it's an arena-style type of game. You run in there as Kratos and you kill stuff. You try to do it within a certain time limit or whatever, or difficulty level. And hey, if you succeed, congratulations. You get a pat on the back and a digital gold star. And, rinse and repeat, baby. That's your DLC. Let's see. There were quite a few music performances, and all of them, in my opinion, were a waste of time. Not that they weren't good, not that they didn't do a good job, but again, it's a game show. It's a Game Awards show, and that's not games. In my opinion, it just shouldn't be in there. And then two, with the awards, again, quite a few of them weren't even a part of the show. Half of the ones that were left didn't even get anybody up on the stage to talk about it, to say thank you. And then the ones that did, they had 45 seconds. It's just very rude, very disrespectful. And then some of them didn't even seem to be present anymore. So the best MMO, we didn't have one. The best horror game, we didn't have that either. Again, these are genres, folks. And some of these awards are based off of genres, like Best Action Adventure, Best RPG. I mean, where's the MMO and Best Horror? Instead, we had some like the Most Impact. Who gives a rip and frick about the Most Impact? They don't know how impactful it was. They're not getting surveyed of the players. It's like, oh, how did you feel about the impact of the game? They're not doing that. It's just kind of an assumption, or it's just made by the board of what they feel was the most possibly impactful, to the world, to the gaming audience. But I'm sure if we looked at those numbers, all of those games did horrible. That's my opinion. That's my belief. Because, yeah, they're not an Ubisoft game. They're not a COD game. They're not God of War, The Last of Us. I mean, they are not those type of games. You could tell just by looking at them. The games I'd never even heard of. And it's like, oh yeah, the most impact goes to da-da-da. So, yeah. Why do we even have that? The other one is the best adaptation. Turned into a movie or a video game. Again, I already said, it's like, look, it's not a game. I don't think that should be an award for a show. In a gaming show, it doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe I'm just too black and white, but hey, I'm not gray like others. It's all or nothing, baby. And in a game show, it should be games. That's what we're there for. That's why we're watching. That's why we're spending our time. That's why people paid tickets and put those butts in those seats, is because it's a game show. And then, yeah, the awards, they weren't the focus. Ultimately, it was paid ads, promotions. Again, 62 games we got to see. Actors promoting their own show or their own games that they were being a part of. And two, this just feels like it's becoming more of a show, like a flashy show. People were wearing very nice clothes, very nice dresses. The announcers of saying who won the particular award, they all had a sequined jacket or vest on, like it was tailored and custom made for them. That's what they had to wear. And, those are very expensive and time-consuming to make. There's also a ton of lights. The stage was just crazy. You had full-blown acts and shows on stage with, Jeff Keighley's own orchestra, basically, that he premiered himself. You also had other performances from other groups, and then you even had a kind of play music representation of Alan Wake 2, and all of that just seemed needless. It took away from people being able to come up and talk about their game, to thank their team, and again, it doesn't need to be 5 minutes, okay? But 2-3 minutes, let them be able to talk and say what they want to say, instead of flustering them with the big time clock and freaking music you play after 30 seconds. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And then too, yeah, this felt more like the Grammys and the Golden Globes. It didn't feel like a Game Awards show talking about games and seeing them as a work of art, okay? It was just like, oh hey, this is the game that we think won, congratulations, get the frick off the stage, we need to promote something else now. I mean, that's what it felt like. So yeah, just a very disrespectful show, and it was all about money for Jeff Keighley. Because he's the one that runs the show, he's the one making the decisions, and I honestly think he's kind of gotten full of himself at this point. And it's what he wants to promote. So that's why we only saw about a third of the total awards even have someone accept an award on the stage. All of the promotions, 62 flippin' games. There was also multiple ads for subscription services, for game handheld consoles, and for other stuff. The show, too, was 3 freaking hours because of all of the extra crap. We didn't need 3 hours. 3 hours is insane, folks. Hopefully you don't have to watch it. Hopefully this is enough information. And then, too, I also felt like the nominees were too tight for the awards. If you weren't Baldur's Gate 3, Alan Wake 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Tears of the Kingdom, Spider-Man, Super Mario Wonder, Resident Evil 4, or Cyberpunk, you didn't have a chance in hell. I mean, you got to see those repeated, especially Baldur's Gate 3 and Alan Wake. You got to see them over and over and over and over and over again in the nominee list. And again, they're great games. Okay, they're nominated. That's great. That's great. But we didn't really have variety. So again, if you weren't one of those 8 or 9, you're done. I mean, what's even the point of going? It just kind of sucks. So you got to sit there for 3 hours, being a good sport while you're just kind of wasting your time. And it's not just a 3-hour show. It's, flying there, the travel, renting the room, the cost, going back. I mean, would you want to go there just to hear the same? And basically, Cyberpunk, Resident Evil 4, Spider-Man, Alan Wake, and Baldur's Gate 3 were repeated so many flippin' times. It was insane. I want to say Alan Wake was nominated 5 times. Baldur's Gate 3 was nominated 9. Spider-Man was probably nominated 4 or 5 times, and Cyberpunk too. And then even Cyberpunk won the Ongoing Award. What the frick does that mean? Ongoing. They're not an ongoing game. They've been out for 3 years with 1 DLC. Phantom Liberty. They're not going to have any more. They're going to move on to other projects. Are you kidding me? Maybe I'm not understanding what the whole point is of ongoing. Did they have some struggles? Sure, but they're not the only ones. What about Stalker 2? What about No Man's Sky, for Pete's sakes? That was a freaking train wreck. And that's been going on, since 2016. No Man's Sky has become a wonderful piece of art. And I know, Lion, I do want to play it eventually. It still has a bad taste in my mouth. I gotta play it at some point to get rid of that, to trust it again. But looking at the DLCs that they made for the game that were free, it's incredible. It's totally a different game now. I can see that even without playing it at this point. But there's other ones too. And it's just like we have Cyberpunk. sometimes I almost felt like there was kind of some behind the scenes stuff going on to promote some of this stuff, or to just drag it into the ground repeatedly over and over and over again, as if, yeah, this is a good game, folks. Please buy it. So, yeah, again, I'm glad these should be nominated, but I don't think they should be nominated 9 freaking times. Let some other stuff get in there. Maybe you could be nominated 2 or 3 times total. Pick which ones you want to be a part of and leave it at that. But leave some room for some other folks. Because again, it was just the same games over again. You're like, oh, I bet Alan Wake's going to win this one. Oh, yep, congratulations. I bet Baldur's Gate 3 is going to win that one. Yep, it did. Yay. I mean, that's just what it felt like. And then, too, I even got to see something on Mr. Matty Plays. He talked about the Game Awards show. And he got to he got to read something that he put up on the screen. You guys can watch it yourself if you'd like. But he talked about how Jeff Keighley himself is like, well, we don't really want kind of a specific interpretation of what these genres are. We want to kind of leave it broad because, people have different opinions and whatever. And so, yeah, some of these games didn't feel like they really fit in their category for what they were nominated for. It just kind of felt off. And so it's like, Jeff, that's your flippin' job. You and your cohorts of folks running the show, it's your job to define what these genres are and where the game should go in their nominations. Because again, most of the live service games today, you could have as an action adventure. You could have as multiplayer. You could have as a live service game. You could have as an ongoing game. You could have as an RPG. The list flipping goes on. Best performance. Best music score. It's like, you could literally have the same game repeated over and over and over again, just like some of these were, and it gets old. And also, again, I think it's unfair for other folks. So, yeah, Jeff, it's your flippin' job to define what some of these nominations are, what defines them, like ongoing. You should define that, and not just pick the same freaking games you picked the last 7 times. So those are ultimately my thoughts, but yeah, this thing was an F. It was not a Game Awards show. It was a show for Jeff to get money, to promote whoever was willing to pay, for ads to be there, for performances. I mean, good grief, the performances had more time than the actual award ceremony of 12 minutes. Out of 180 minutes, folks, 12 minutes. Hey, I'd like to thank my team. I'd like to thank my mom. Yep, that's it. So, yeah, what a joke. So, again, yeah. I think Jeff needs to wake up. It's really Jeff's awards show. And the award goes to the bands, the people promoting their stuff, the ads. It got old, man. It was a brutal 3 hours. For those of you that sat through it, congratulations. You get a Game Awards NFT that you can use on Jeff Keighley's NFT hub. I get one too, I guess. I went through this crap. But yeah, what a bummer. So it was exciting to see some of the games, but again, 62 games, that's crazy. And yeah, it wasn't an awards show. So what do you guys think? Did you guys watch it? Did you guys watch part of it? Leave a comment below on what you think, on maybe what I missed, what you don't agree with, what you do agree with. We appreciate all crazy opinions here. But yeah, I didn't like it at all. I think it's the worst show of the year. Because I watched pretty much all of the other ones earlier this year, and yeah, this one's the worst. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, folks. Again, you can always find me at Twitch at Don't Tread on Thee. And you can always find me, too, at YouTube, where I archive everything at Gaming Garbage 22. Don't forget, if you're watching this one, you can also watch Gaming News. Both of these will be put out same day. Gaming News and the Game Awards show. And hopefully you guys are doing well. I'm going to go get some sleep, and I'll see you on the next one.